Hello my dear friends, welcome to Live Prep. In this lecture, we will talk about what are the different contributions of some of the scientists, and also we will study about the cell theory. Okay, so these are some major points that we are covering in this particular lecture. But before going with this, so now we will quickly talk about what actually the cell is. In different contexts, we are using the term cell, and if you are generally talking about this, so we are talking about a cell in the sense of a jail. Yes or no? So with respect to a lockup, so we are talking that it is a cell. And in the case of physics also, we are using a term called cell. Yes or no? To represent this, we are using a term called as cell. But here there is one more interesting thing is, so in the case of cell phones, so there also we are using a cell, right? Actually this is cell, if you are understanding, so it is somehow it is related to our biology term, that is the cell. So in the case of cell phones, what happens? There is a tower. So generally it is present at one location, and this is covering some particular area, and this is considered as one unit for the function of this particular one. So based on this, it is called as a cell. Understood or not? So in this particular cell, there is a tower, and that is receiving some signals and it is transmitting some signals. So in this way, it is acting as a cell. So the same logic you can also apply even for the biology word, that is cell. So in this case, what we are saying, so there is a particular organism. In that organism, so there are many cells. Okay, if it is multicellular, many cells are present, so that it is doing one particular function. So in this way, each and every cell is contributing some of the functions. So in this way, organism is able to survive. Yes or no? In the same sense, we can use like this. But in the case of biology, it is having some basic structural and functional unit, and it is the living component. Very important. It is the living component that is present, and it is doing so many functions. And what are these? All these things, slowly we will understand all these things. But in this particular lecture, mainly we are focusing about some of the scientists and their contributions. Only that part we will study, and also we will study about this cell theory. So with that, this lecture will be completed. So quickly we will go with this. Okay, and here they are saying that in NCERT they used one word, that with the help of these microscopes, scientists were able to observe some of these organisms. So in this way, different microscopes were developed by different scientists. We don't need that list. Once again, I am telling you, so who developed so and so microscope, all these things are not needed. Understood or not? But here there are two things here. One, we are talking about a microscope that was developed by Robert Hooke, and another thing that we need to talk is microscope developed by Leeuwenhoek. We are not talking about the microscopes actually. So we will talk about the contributions of these scientists and what type of things they have observed with the help of these microscopes. That's it. So two scientists we are talking. One is Robert Hooke and another one is Antony van Leeuwenhoek. Understood or not? So these are the things that we need to focus. That's it. Remaining things are not needed for us. Okay. Now we are going with this, and here we are talking about a scientist and whose name is Robert Hooke. And the question here is regarding this particular scientist, is it mentioned in NCERT or not? It was not mentioned in NCERT. Directly I am telling you here, it was not mentioned in NCERT, but we need to compulsorily remember regarding this particular scientist. So what is the contribution of this scientist? Robert Hooke. Robert Hooke. Please understand regarding this scientist. Since it was not mentioned in NCERT, so we will limit our content so that whatever is needed for us, only that information we will study here. And now Robert Hooke, just now I have shown you here. So he developed one microscope, and with the help of that microscope, he observed many different types of things. And some of them are related to biology. And in the biology, he observed something. What is that? He observed a cork tissue. He observed a cork tissue of Spanish oak plant. Spanish oak plant. Please understand, plant, it is a biological thing. Yes or no? So from this plant, he observed a particular tissue, and what is the name of the tissue? It is a cork tissue. And when he observed this particular cork tissue, what type of structure actually he observed? He observed honeybee comb-like structure. So in the case of honeybee comb, so it is having the cells like this. It is having the arrangement like this, yes or no? So in this arrangement, he observed some cells in that particular tissue. Okay, so this is called as honeybee comb like structure. This is what we are saying. So in this way, when Robert Hooke observed this particular cork tissue of Spanish oak plant, he observed some compartments like this. Can you call this as a compartment? Yes, it is like a compartment or a room, compartment or a room like structure he observed, and it is actually appearing as honeybee comb like structure. Okay, so quickly I will show you that particular diagram. So in this way he observed some compartments like structures, and you can compare them with honeybee comb like structure. So in this way he observed something, and in this particular one, what actually he has observed, this is important point for examination. What actually he has observed, see here, he observed that there is some compartment here, there are some walls here, and inside this it is having some empty space. Inside this it is having some empty space. Now you should get the doubt. If it is a plant tissue, why it is having empty tissue? Inside this it should have the cell, right? Yes, this is the very important point for examination. So please focus on this. What actually he observed? He observed some empty compartments. This is very important point for examination. He observed actually empty compartment. Why it is empty inside? Why it is not having anything inside? Because this cork tissue is a dead tissue. This cork tissue is a dead tissue. Since cork is a dead tissue, now what happened to the cell inside? And what happened to the protoplasm present inside? It got dried up. It got completely dried up. That's why inside it is appearing empty. It is empty. Then what are these walls? What are these walls? And actually he called these as diaphragms, right? Diaphragm means what? It is like a wall. And this is the diaphragm, and this is the wall for this particular cell. And this wall is nothing but cell wall. This wall is nothing but cell wall. But inside empty space, for this inside empty space, Robert Hooke has given one particular term that is called as cellula. Cellula is singular. If you are writing E at the end, it will become cellulae, and that is plural. Understood or not? So in this way, for the empty compartment, he used a term called as cellula, and for this particular diaphragm, he called it as cell wall. These are the two things that he observed. And now you just understand, technically, did he observe any living cell here? No. So that is the reason why they may ask you the question in examination. Suppose they are asking that who for the first time observed a dead cell? Dead cell who observed? It was by Robert Hooke under the microscope. We are talking about under microscope. Under the microscope, for the first time, dead cell was observed by Robert Hooke. That means technically what he actually discovered. Did he actually discover a living cell here? No. But what was the thing that he actually discovered here? Cell wall was discovered for the first time under the microscope by Robert Hooke. So this question they may ask in examination. Who for the first time discovered cell wall under microscope? Answer will be Robert Hooke. Who for the first time discovered dead cell? Answer will be Robert Hooke. This is what the important information is. That's it. And what is the other point we need to remember? The meaning of this cellulae or cellula. Cellula is singular, cellula is plural. For the same thing, today we are using this particular word cell. C-E-L-L, cell, that's it. So now today we are calling this same thing as a cell. Yes or no? So this cellulae are cells. Okay, cellulae is plural, so cells is the plural. Cellula is singular, cell is the singular. So in this sense we are using this particular content. So now in this way, so who coined the term cell? It is Robert Hooke. So this is what we are saying. But here you need to understand one more important point. What is that point? Actually, what is the meaning of this cell? Cell or cellula? It is the empty compartment. The meaning of cell is empty compartment. But today whatever the cell we are saying, are you talking about empty compartment? No, we are not talking about empty compartment. So now here this type of words are called as misnomers. This type of words are called as misnomers. What is the meaning of this misnomer? So it is a wrong name. What is the wrong name? Actually cell means empty compartment. But what is the cell that we are studying today? Is it an empty compartment? No. That means it is a wrong name that was given to this particular one. So this type of words are called misnomers, but still we are using the same word today also. So please understand, a cell is a living thing, right? It is a living part. But here the cell original meaning is empty compartment. But still, though it is a mistake, still today we are using this particular term. So in the same way, there is a term called as a hormone. Okay, anyhow, in the chemical coordination chapter, we will study this. That hormone word is also a misnomer, because hormone means the one that is actually inducing the response. It is making the response more. So that is called hormone. Okay, so anyhow, that day we will talk more about this. But originally, some hormones are doing the part, they are increasing the activity, but there are some hormones that are inhibiting, they are stopping the activity also. But still we are calling them as hormone. So that means the term hormone is also a misnomer. So in this way, there are some terms called misnomers are there. But anyhow, in the NCERT, they are not talking anything about misnomer, but at least understand what is the misnomer. So in this way, in the biology, so for some of the names were given by mistake, but still we are using those things today also. This is what they are saying in this particular part. So what is the overall content here? Robert Hooke observed dead tissue, and it is a cork tissue. Regarding the cork in the plant part, in the botany part, separately you will study about that. Okay, so cork point you need to remember. So this Spanish oak plant is not important, but cork tissue name is important. It is a dead tissue. Since it is a dead tissue, Robert Hooke observed dead cells. In that dead cell also, originally what he discovered? He discovered cell wall. And for the empty compartment, he used the term called as cellula for singular, cellulae plural, and that is nothing but a cell. Singular is cell, plural is cells. This is what we are taught. Okay, so this is what the information is, and this information actually he published in a book, and the book name is Micrographia, and this name is not needed for examination. Okay, but he coined a term called as cellulae or cells. Okay, this was the term that was given by him. So this is the information that is important regarding Robert Hooke. Once again I am telling you, even though Robert Hooke information was not given in NCERT, we should compulsorily remember this particular part. Okay, over. Next one. Now we are talking about another scientist, and his name is Antony van Leeuwenhoek. And regarding this scientist, clearly they have mentioned in NCERT, so this information is compulsory. And Leeuwenhoek developed one simple type of microscope, and with the help of this, he observed different types of substances. So he took some sample of the water and he observed that one, and he observed the semen also. So based on that, he observed the sperm cells also, and not only that, on the tongue early in the morning. So actually we are cleaning the tongue, right? So we are getting some scum, and that also he observed. And based on this observation, he observed so many things from different types of samples. And what actually he observed, that when he observed under microscope, he observed that there are some animal like. Why they are saying animal like? Why not plant like? Plants means what? They are present at a particular location. They are not showing the locomotion, right? General sense. But in the case of animals, yes, they are able to move. So in that sense, they are saying that animal like. Why they are saying animal like? Because they are able to move. That is the sense you need to understand. So under the microscope, Leeuwenhoek observed that there are some things that are actually moving. So for this moving animal-like things, that's why he called them as animalcules. But in NCERT, animalcules term was not given, but better you please remember this particular one. Understood or not? So this animalcules was the term given by Leeuwenhoek for these living and moving organisms that were observed under microscope. That's it. And what is important for examination and what was given in NCERT. In the NCERT, they said that the first living cell was discovered by Leeuwenhoek. This is very important. Very clearly they give. Just now we studied about Robert Hooke. Robert Hooke discovered first dead cell under the microscope. But who first discovered first living cell under microscope? It is Antony van Leeuwenhoek. At least this information is very important. Okay. So regarding this animalcules not mentioned, so no problem, but remaining information you need to compulsorily remember this. Okay. Now we will go with this. And here this information regarding the Malpighian group was not given in NCERT, but if you can remember, this is not compulsory. So now you just understand the question carefully. What is the question? Who first observed living cell under a microscope? Answer will be Antony van Leeuwenhoek. Fine. Living cell simply. But if they are asking about first living animal cell separately, first living plant cell separately, now there will be a problem. So actually Antony van Leeuwenhoek observed about animal like. So who first observed living animal cell under microscope? Antony van Leeuwenhoek. So in this way, in general, if they are asking about first living cell, Antony van Leeuwenhoek. First living animal cell under microscope, once again Antony van Leeuwenhoek. So since you are talking about animal cell, if there is a question about plant cell, so who first observed living plant cell under microscope? If that question is there, in that case we need to talk about Malpighi and Grove. But this was not given in NCERT, so it is optional information. If you can remember, okay, or else leave it. That's it. Okay. So this is what particular information is. And next point that they have given in NCERT is who first discovered the nucleus. So nucleus was discovered by Robert Brown. Robert Brown, for the first time, he observed the nucleus under the microscope. Okay. So this is what the information that was given in NCERT regarding the basic information with respect to the scientists. Okay. And after this they are talking about the cell theory. But before going with that, first we will read some of the sentences given in NCERT regarding this. Antony van Leeuwenhoek first saw and described a live cell. Simply they are talking about live cell. And what is this live cell? Animal cell or plant cell? In specific, if you are talking, it is animal cell was observed by Antony van Leeuwenhoek. Next one, they are saying that Robert Brown later discovered the nucleus. So Robert Brown later on he discovered the nucleus that is present inside the cell. And next what they are saying, the invention of the microscope and its improvement leading to electron microscope. Initially whatever the microscopes that were there, so slowly they got modified and some new versions came, and finally it resulted into discovery of the or the invention of the electron microscopes, and that revealed all the structural details of the cell. With the help of electron microscope, even the internal structures of cell also can be studied. So that is the reason why, so with the invention of electron microscope, we got complete clear-cut structure about the cell. So in this way, finally, electron microscope helped in understanding the exact and proper structure of the cell. This is what they are saying. Okay. Anyhow, slowly one after the other, we will study the each and every component of the cell, cell organelle, everything we will study in detail. Okay. So this is what they are talking about. And now they are talking about the cell theory. Before directly going with the cell theory, individually we need to talk about the scientists. And here we are talking about the two scientists. And one scientist is Schleiden, and he is a German botanist. And what is the information that we need to study about the Schleiden? Okay. So here two scientists they are talking. So first one is Schleiden, and other one is Schwann. Schleiden and Schwann. These are the two scientists. And first we need to talk about what is the contribution of the Schleiden. And then we need to talk about what is the contribution of Schwann. And then separately we will study about the cell theory. First we need to talk about individually about each scientist. So first we will talk about the Schleiden. Okay. So first we are talking about Schleiden. And regarding the Schleiden, so what is the information that they have given? He is a German botanist. And now you may have the question. So this information was given in NCERT. Do you need to compulsorily remember whether he belongs to which country or to what is the country to which he belongs? So generally it is not important. So what is the country to which they belong? So they will give in the NCERT in different chapters, different scientist names they have given. So is it every time compulsory that what is the country, whether he is a botanist or zoologist or geneticist, biochemist or chemist, physicist, likewise they are giving. So actually this information is optional. It is not that much compulsory. If you can remember, better, or else you can simply ignore this. But in this particular case, I am saying that at least remember that he is a botanist, because based on this you can understand what type of information can be related. Okay. So now let us see the relation here. Schleiden is a botanist. Botanist means what type of cells he will study, plant cells or animal cells. So botany means it is the study of the plant cells. So definitely it is about the plant cells. So Schleiden he has studied about the plants. So it will be easy for you. So in this way it may give some clue so that you can easily understand the NCERT content. So Schleiden is a botanist and he observed different types of the plants. And here what he observed, within these plants, he observed some tissues, and what he observed is these tissues are having different types of cells. These tissues are having different types of cells. This is what he observed. And what is the NCERT sentence they have given? Schleiden is a German botanist who studied the plants or who observed the plants. Based on observation of the plants, what he observed? What is the final conclusion? He said that different types of cells are present in the plants and they are forming various tissues in the plants. This is what they are saying. Do you able to understand this or not? Schleiden is a botanist who observed or who analyzed or who studied different types of the plants. And in these plants, he observed that different types of cells combinedly they are forming different types of the tissues. That's it. This is the one and only single sentence that they have given in NCERT. That's it. So Schleiden is a botanist, studied the plants, and he said that different tissues are composed of different types of the cells. So please understand the words and the framing of sentence in NCERT, because in the examination they will ask questions like this only. Whatever is the NCERT wording, based on the same wording they are asking the questions. So you please don't try to change this. And generally the problem is whenever you are referring through some other reference books. So in the reference books the wording may be little bit different, and some students are getting confused between NCERT wording and the wording given in that reference books. And now ultimately the problem is, if you are remembering the reference book wordings and if you are forgetting the NCERT wordings, unnecessarily you will face the problem. So please remember, I am directly telling you, out of 100 questions, 99 questions will be given from the NCERT, that too using NCERT wording only. So it is ultimately compulsory that you need to remember each and every word of NCERT also. Then only you can understand the content. That's it. The single sentence with that regarding the Schleiden is completed. And now we are talking about another scientist, that is Schwann. Schwann. This scientist Schwann is very important, and here actually they are talking about total 3 important points. You need to understand each and every point very clearly. And before going with this, and he is a British geologist. So previously we studied about the Schleiden, and he is German botanist, and now we are talking about the Schwann. He is a British geologist. Now we will get the logic from this. Geologist, that means what type of cells he observed? Plant cells or animal cells? Animal cells. So first we will talk about this. So Schwann is a British geologist who observed animal cells. Fine, very good. Observed animal cells. And what is the conclusion for this? And he observed that for the animal cells there is a limiting membrane or delimiting structure. Many students are getting confused here. What is the meaning of delimiting or limiting structure means? So limiting means that is the outer boundary, that's it. So in the animal cells there is an outer boundary, there is a membrane here. There is a membrane that is present as outer boundary for this particular cells. And this is called as simply delimiting structure or simply limiting structure, any word you can say. And this today we are calling this as cell membrane. Cell membrane, and it is also called as plasma membrane. Plasma membrane. Anyhow, when we study about this cell membrane or plasma membrane separately, that day also once again we will study more details. Okay, and please understand the content here. What is the sentence? Schwann is a British geologist. He studied different types of animal cells, and he concluded that for all the animal cells there is a membrane that is present as a outer delimiting structure, and this membrane is today called as cell membrane or plasma membrane, or you can also call as plasma lemma. Plasma lemma. Plasma lemma. So in this way, this is the outer boundary for the animal cells. That's it. Completed. That sentence is completed. So Schwann observed animal cells. That sentence completed. And now here you will get a confusing statement. Even though he is a geologist, he also observed some plant cells. Please understand here. Now some students are getting confused here. So if he is a geologist, it is not mandatory that you should not observe this. He observed it. So in this way, he observed both animal and plant cells. So based on the plant cells, what is the conclusion he got? In the case of plant cells, what happens? There is a plasma membrane here also. But what is the outer boundary for the plant cell? In the case of plant cell, outside the plasma membrane, there is a wall. There is a wall, and this wall is called as cell wall. Understood or not? So in this way, what is the conclusion he said for the plant cells? In the case of plant cells, cell wall is the outer boundary and presence of cell wall is the characteristic feature for plant cells. What is the meaning of it? Do animal cells have the cell wall? No. Animal cells do not have a cell wall, but plant cells are having cell wall. So presence of cell wall is the characteristic feature for plant cells. And who said this particular one? Is it Schleiden or Schwann? It is a Schwann. Please remember here, many students are making mistake here. Since they are thinking that plant cells means botanist. Botanist means Schleiden, they are thinking. That is wrong. It is not about the Schleiden, it is about the Schwann. Even though he is a zoologist, he observed the plant cells. Based on plant cells observation, he said that presence of cell wall is the unique and a characteristic feature for the plant cells because they are not present for animal cells. So in this way, Schwann observed that in the case of animal cells, outermost layer is cell membrane or plasma membrane, but in the case of plant cells, the outermost one is cell wall. These are the conclusions. Now, what is the third one? Third one is cell hypothesis. It is not a cell theory, it is cell hypothesis. Please understand this. Cell hypothesis. Now, what type of question can be asked? Who proposed cell hypothesis? What is the answer? One option is Schleiden, other option is Schwann, third option is both. What you will write? Who proposed cell hypothesis? It is a Schwann only. Don't talk about the Schleiden. Schwann only proposed this cell hypothesis. And what is the cell hypothesis? You can understand this. Schwann observed animal and plant cells. Yes or no? So based on this only he gave the sentence. So what is the cell hypothesis? Bodies of, please understand this. If you understand cell hypothesis, the same sentence you can relate with cell theory. There is a small difference, that's it. So that's why I am writing the sentence also. Bodies of both plant and animals. So bodies of plants and animals, because he observed only these two. So bodies of plants and animals are composed of cells and their products. Cells and their products. This is what they are saying. Please understand. Anyhow, I will explain the sentence carefully. So since he observed both animal and plant cells, based on this, he proposed a cell hypothesis. Who proposed cell hypothesis? Schwann proposed cell hypothesis. And what he proposed in this? He said that bodies of plants and animals. Please understand this. He is talking only about plants and animals in cell hypothesis. Okay, bodies of plants and animals are composed of cells and their products. What is this cells and their products? Please understand here. Suppose it is a cell. Cell means all the components, whether they are the organelles or any component that is coming inside this. It is part of the cell, fine. It is the cell. Everything. Cell means anything that is present inside this will come under the cell. In the same way, here is a cell, here is a cell, here is a cell. And please understand that if it is an organism, it is not just the cells. Between the cells also some components are present. Understood or not? And who will produce these particular things? Again, the cells only produce this. Yes or no? When you are talking about an organism, it is not just the cells, it is about the intercellular substances also. That is the reason why, anyhow, there is a separate chapter called as animal tissues. So there I will tell you about this particular sentence once again. What is a tissue? Please understand, NCERT sentence. What is a tissue? Tissue is nothing but a just group of cells. It is not just a group of cells. Group of cells along with intercellular substances. Intercellular. What is the meaning of intercellular? Inter means what? Between or within? Inter means between something. Intra means inside something. Okay, so here it is inter means between what? Cells. So this is cell, this is cell, this is the between the cell. So in this way, between the cells, whatever is there, that is called intercellular. So cells along with intercellular substance is called as a tissue. Likewise, many tissues combined together they will form organs. Many organs will interact and form organ systems. In the case of human I am saying. So in this way many different things interact and finally they are forming the complete organism, right? So in this way, if you are talking about the body of an organism, what are present? Cells are present along with some intracellular products also. So in this case what they are saying, bodies of plants and animals are composed of cells and their products. Everything will come. Anyhow, these are also products of cell only, but anyhow under the heading of cell they are will be covered. So whatever is present between the cells, for them we are separately saying that and their products. So in this way, all these combinedly they are forming a particular organism. So in this way, a cell hypothesis was proposed by Schwann, and here he said that bodies of plants and animals are composed of cells and their products. That's it. So these are the three important points. So only single sentence we are studying for Schleiden. Schleiden, German botanist, observed plant cells, and he said that different types of cells group together and they are forming the different tissues in the plant cells. Completed. With respect to the Schwann, 3 points we are studying. Since he is a British zoologist, he studied the animal cells and he said that plasma membrane is the outermost layer for the animal cells. And he also studied the plant cells, and based on the plant cells he said that presence of cell wall is the characteristic feature for plant cells. That's what he said. And since he observed both plant and animal cells, and based on that he proposed cell hypothesis, and in the cell hypothesis he said that both bodies of plants and animals are composed of cells and their products. That's it. With this particular content is completed. Okay. Now let us quickly go through NCERT content for this particular paragraph. Then we will proceed for the next part. Okay. So Schleiden is a German botanist, Schwann is a British zoologist, and he talked about delimiting layer for animal cells, and the presence of cell wall is unique character for plant cells, and he also proposed cell hypothesis. These are the important points, and this is the NCERT content. Let us quickly read this. Regarding the cell theory, individually first they are talking about the scientists. In 1838, Schleiden, a German botanist, examined a large number of plants. He observed plants and observed that all plants are composed of different kinds of cells which form the tissues of a plant. So in this way different cells are combinedly forming different tissues in the plant. This is what the contribution of Schleiden. Over. Now another scientist at about the same time, so Schwann in 1839, so he is a British zoologist and he studied different types of animal cells, and based on that what the conclusion, and reported that cells had a thin outer layer which is today known as plasma membrane. So for all the animal cells they are having one delimiting layer, that outermost layer today we are calling as cell membrane or plasma membrane. That is one point. Second point, he also concluded, how he concluded? Based on his studies on plant tissues. Based on that particular one, he concluded. What he concluded? That the presence of cell wall is a unique character of the plant cells. So in the case of plant cells, cell wall presence is the unique character. This is the second point. Third one, on the basis of this means what? He observed both plant and animal cells. Based on that, Schwann proposed the hypothesis that, what was the hypothesis? This hypothesis, you just underline in NCERT, underline hypothesis and write cell hypothesis. This is called cell hypothesis. And what is the hypothesis? That the bodies of animals and plants. Why only animals and plants? Because he observed only animals and plants. So that's why the bodies of animals and plants are composed of cells and the products of cells. So this is what about the Schwann. Individually we have studied. Now we are combinedly studying about the cell theory. And this cell theory was proposed by Schleiden and Schwann. And what these scientists did, and these scientists met each other and then they have discussed and finally they have modified this hypothesis of Schwann. And in the hypothesis of Schwann, what actually we have studied? In the hypothesis of Schwann, we studied only about the plant and animals. And when Schleiden and Schwann, when they met each other, when they discussed with each other, finally they have changed this cell hypothesis into cell theory. Please understand this, cell hypothesis was modified into cell theory. So when they have changed this into cell theory, so there they have changed this particular statement also. In the original statement of cell hypothesis, what was there? Only plant and animals. But when they are talking about cell theory, they have applied it to all organisms. So that's why in the cell theory what happens? Bodies of all the organisms. Please understand this. This is the change. Not just plant and animals. any organism, any organism. So bodies of all the organisms are composed of cells and their products. In this way the sentence was changed. So now we are talking about the cell theory. Cell theory. So who proposed this? Combinedly both Schleiden and Schwann. So each and everything is a separate question. Who proposed cell theory? Schleiden and Schwann. Schleiden and Schwann proposed which of the following theories? It is the cell theory. Like that also questions can be asked. Next one. So this is the first one. And what is the overall conclusion here? Bodies of all organisms. Please understand the change here. Previously we studied about only plants and animals. But this time we are talking about bodies of all organisms are composed of. They are composed of cells and their products. Cells and products of cells. Cells and products of cells. This is what the cell theory. So originally the cell theory proposed by Schleiden and Schwann has only one sentence, that's it. And that is called as bodies of all organisms are composed of cells and their products. For the same sentence, in some, actually in the case of lower classes, what they will say that for the same thing. So that means compulsorily cells are important. So that's why we will say that cell is the basic structural and functional unit. Structural and functional unit. Cell is the structural and functional unit of an organism. So in this way compulsorily cells should be present. Cell is the basic one, it is the minimum one that should be present, and it is forming the structures called organisms, and functions also, different functions are also taking place inside this, and all these things are happening in the cell itself. So in this way cell is the basic structural and functional unit for the organisms. So this is what actually about the cell theory proposed by Schleiden and Schwann. So with this, Schleiden and Schwann, whatever they said, that part is completed. But here there is a small drawback. What is this drawback? Very good. So organism, suppose this is an organism is having different types of cells, and all these things are very good, fine. But the question here is, how these cells are formed here? How these many cells are formed here? So how the new cells are coming from this? So these things were not explained, so that's why it is the drawback. It is the drawback. So what is the drawback for this cell theory that was proposed by Schleiden and Schwann? So these scientists did not explain how actually the cells are formed. This is the drawback. And this drawback was rectified by another scientist with his explanation, and the scientist is Rudolf Virchow. Rudolf Virchow. Please understand this. And what this scientist has said. And please understand, here we are using some information and regarding the Rudolf Virchow. And here what we are saying, and he proposed that whenever there is a cell and this cell will undergo division, so that it will form the new cells. This is forming the new cells. So that means what this will be the old cell. So that means new cells are formed from the old cell. Old cell means this is the pre-existing, already existing cell. Understood or not? So this is what important point is. So what Virchow has proposed? Virchow has proposed that so whenever there is a cell, this cell will undergo division, and because of the division it will form the new cells. So in this way, a sentence we are saying in this direction. First we are starting here. So what we are saying here, new cells are formed from pre-existing cells. This is what the sentence is. So Rudolf Virchow, what he said, how the cells are formed, what is the explanation he has given? Rudolf Virchow has proposed, or simply you can say that he has modified. What is the NCERT wording I am saying? Please try to understand this. Rudolf Virchow has modified the hypothesis of Schleiden and Schwann. Now you just understand the problem of NCERT. Cell theory, if you are saying, yes, Schleiden and Schwann will come. But here what the NCERT sentence is saying, hypothesis of Schleiden and Schwann. Hypothesis of Schleiden and Schwann means it is once again cell theory only, because both the scientists are there. When both the scientists are there, the hypothesis of so and so scientist means what? Again it will be cell theory only. So he modified this. Why he modified this? Because he added one more sentence. Originally in the cell theory proposed by Schleiden, only one is there, that is bodies of all the organisms are composed of cell side and their products, that's it. And now this scientist is adding one more sentence. What is that one more sentence? Regarding origin of the cells. So how the new cells are formed? New cells are formed from pre-existing cells. By what is the process? And the process is called as division, and this process in simple called as cell division. So in this way new cells are formed from pre-existing cells by cell division. And now what you need to do is, after completion of the lecture, you just open the cell cycle cell division chapter, not the cell chapter, cell cycle and cell division chapter. And there I am not talking about the regular content. At the end of the chapter you will get the summary, right? Now open that summary. At that summary they have mentioned about this. Please understand this one. This is how they are interlinking this. In the summary of cell cycle and cell division chapter, they are talking about the Rudolf Virchow. Rudolf Virchow has proposed that cells will divide and they will form the new cells. So the question is possible like this: who first proposed about cell division? This is the question. Do you able to understand or not? This is how the questions are interlinked, and this is how they will ask in the NEET examination. So who first proposed about cell division? Simple, clear-cut question. And what is the answer? Rudolf Virchow. So this is how you need to understand the content. So this is what the point is. So in this way, so new cells are forming from pre-existing cells, and for this it is also called as omnis cellula e cellula. Omnis cellula e cellula. What is the meaning of omnis cellula? Omnis cellula means if there is a cell, if there is a cell e cellula, that means there is an existing cell. If there is a cell now, there may be some pre-existing cell. That means, so how this cell is produced? From the pre-existing cell. So in this way new cells are formed from pre-existing cells. This is what the content is. So in this way Rudolf Virchow has added one more sentence to the cell theory. So in this way today whatever we are understanding the cell theory, it is having two statements. First one is the bodies of all the organisms are composed of cells and their products, and the next one is the new cells are produced from pre-existing cells. It is also called as omnis cellula e cellula. That's it. This is what about the cell theory. So in this way cell is the basic structural and functional unit. Each and every organism, whether it is a prokaryote, eukaryote, whatever it is, it should compulsorily have these particular cells. If it is unicellular organism, single cell will be present, that itself is performing all the functions, so that it itself is called as an organism. But in the case of multicellular organisms, many cells are present and all of them are working together, because already yesterday we have, in the previous lecture we have studied, no? So division of labor is present. So in this way, so because of this they are performing all the functions, but compulsorily cells are required. If cells are not present, we should not consider that as living organism. That's why already in the previous lecture also we have studied this. Anything less than a complete structure of cell does not ensure independent living. Do you remember the sentence or not? Yes. So that is the reason why viruses, viroids, prions, we are not considering as cells, we are not considering as animals, or we are not considering as organisms. Yes or no? Simply viruses, only viruses, we are saying that they are connecting links between non-living and living things. This is what the content that we are studying. Let us quickly talk about this cell theory proposed by Schleiden and Schwann. And here later on Rudolf Virchow, actually he said that how new cells are produced. And formation of the new cells is also called as a cell lineage theory. Lineage means what? How the next generations are coming, right? That is called lineage. And it is also called as common ancestry theory. So here first, suppose let us imagine that first there is a cell dividing and forming new cells. They will divide and form new cells. In this way, after several rounds of replication, division, what happens? Thousands of cells are formed. But all these cells are actually coming from a common ancestor. There is a common ancestor. So from one cell, they are all formed here. This is what they are saying. Understood or not? And here, what are the objections to cell theory? Generally, cell means, what the generally cell means? Plasma membrane should be present, and the protoplasm should be present, organelles should be present, these many should be present, and nucleus should be present, all these should be present. So generally, what are the generally considered small exceptions? May not be completely, with respect to few points, they may be having some exceptions. First one is compulsorily viruses. Even though viruses we are studying under biology, they are not qualifying the definition of organisms, yes or no? This is one important point you need to remember. Next one is regarding multinucleated cell. Generally, a cell means one nucleus should be there. But in the case of multinucleated cells, many nuclei are present. So some are considering this as exception to this particular point. And next one are enucleated. What is the meaning of E? E means removal. Removal of what? Nucleus. So nucleus is removed. From what type of cells nucleus is removed? One simple example from NCERT is mature human RBC. Mature human RBC, during the maturation process, what happens? Nucleus will be lost. So nucleus is removed. So it is enucleated cell. So in the mature human RBC, nucleus itself is not there, but still we are considering this. So in this way, this is also a small exception to this particular one. Next, in the case of prokaryotes, nucleus itself is not present. Directly DNA is present in cytoplasm. So nucleus itself is not there, but still we are considering. So in this way, with respect to some specific points, so there are some exceptions, but still we are remove the viruses, but remaining all are considered as cells only, and we are considering them under the part of organism only. This is what important point is. So in this way, some small exceptions are there. Let us quickly go with the NCERT content. So Schleiden and Schwann together formulated cell theory. So combinedly they have proposed cell theory. So who proposed cell hypothesis? Only Schwann. But who proposed cell theory? Both Schleiden and Schwann. Both of them combinedly they have proposed this. And this theory, however, did not explain as to how new cells were formed. That means, okay, organisms are composed of cells and the products, fine. But how these cells were formed, that was not explained by the cell theory of Schleiden and Schwann. So, Rudolf Virchow in 1855, so first he explained that cells divided and new cells are formed from pre-existing cells. So, he explained that, so whatever the existing cells are there, they will divide and form the new cells. In this way, regarding the cell division, he has proposed. It is simply called as omnis cellula e cellula. If there is a cell, there is a pre-existing cell. That means cells are always formed from pre-existing cells. That's what he said. That's why he modified. So who modified this? Who is this he? He is here Rudolf Virchow. So Rudolf Virchow modified the hypothesis of Schleiden and Schwann. See here. Directly they can say theory of cell theory. But here they said hypothesis of Schleiden and Schwann. And here don't get confused. This hypothesis is not about cell hypothesis of only Schwann. It is not about that. This hypothesis of Schleiden and Schwann means what? Both the scientists are there means it is nothing but cell theory. So better what you do, underline hypothesis of Schleiden and Schwann and write their cell theory. So who modified cell theory? That is a direct question. Who modified cell theory? Rudolf Virchow. So he modified to give the cell theory a final shape. So in this way, final shape. So cell theory as understood today. So today whatever we are understanding, it is having two contents. First one was given by Schleiden and Schwann. What they have said? All living organisms, please understand, all living organisms, not just plants and animals. All living organisms are composed of cells and products of the cells. This was the first statement given by Schleiden and Schwann. And the second statement was given by Rudolf Virchow. And here what he said? All the cells arise from, arise means form from. All the cells arise from pre-existing cells. That means all the cells are formed from pre-existing cells. It is nothing but omnis cellula e cellula. So in this way, these are the two important things that we need to understand from the cell theory. And once with this NCERT content for cell theory is over, and now we need to go for the unit introduction. Because in the unit introduction, they have given some sentences, and these sentences are related to cell theory. So that's why we are studying this one. And now what you need to do, open that unit introduction page, and in that page, up to this, you just mark it as up to this it is for cell chapter. And after this, whatever the sentences they are there, they are related to biomolecules. So when we study about biomolecules, that day we will study about that particular part. Is it clear? So now up to this, you just mark that it will belong to cell chapter. So whenever you are studying cell chapter, these sentences also you need to study under cell chapter. Let us quickly go through this. Biology is the study of living organisms. Yes, biology is the study of living organisms. Botany is the study of plants. Zoology is the study of animals. So these are the things already we know this. Next one, the detailed description of their form and appearance only brought out their diversity. So different organisms are present. And for these organisms, how we are saying different, the difference is mainly because of their form and appearance. how they are present and how they are appearing. So based on this only different organisms we are talking. And here it is the cell theory. They regarding cell theory they are saying it is the cell theory that emphasized, means that signified, that has focused more on the unity that is underlying this diversity of forms. Unity underlying this diversity of forms means what? Different forms are there, different organisms are there, but all these organisms were grouped together, united together, combined together. How? With the help of cell theory. Whatever is the organism, the basic requirement is cell. Whatever is the form, whatever is the appearance, if it is a living organism, compulsorily it should consist of cells. In this way, cell theory has united all these different forms of organisms. This is what they are saying. Next one, that is the cellular organization of all the forms. What has united this? Cell theory has united this diverse forms. How it has united? With respect to the cellular organization of all the forms. Whatever is the form, compulsorily it should have cellular organizations, means cells should be compulsorily present. Next one, a description of cell structure and cell growth by division is given in the chapters comprising this unit. In this unit, 3 chapters are there: cell, the unit of life, biomolecules, and then cell cycle and cell division. So in these chapters what we are studying? Structure of the cell we are studying, cell growth by the division. So cell is growing with the help of the division, so that means cell division. So all these things we are studying in this particular unit. Okay, next one, cell theory also created a sense of mystery around living phenomena. So with respect to living phenomena, cell theory has created some mystery. What is the mystery? In the next sentence they give. First let us complete this. It has created a mystery with respect to living phenomena, that is physiological and behavioral process. So if you are observing this, different organisms are present, but physiologically if you see, many of the reactions are same, and some of the process, some of the behaviors are also same, whereas at the same time some organisms are showing some different types of behaviors and process. How this is possible? And this mystery was the requirement of integrity of cellular organization. It is not just presence of individual cell. So cells should be organized, so that they can show some physiological activities and they can show some behaviors of an organism. As an organism, complete organism, we are showing different behaviors, and all these are because of cellular organization. So in this way, for living phenomena to be demonstrated or observed, if you want to demonstrate some living phenomena, if you want to observe some living phenomena, compulsorily cellular organization should be present. Then only we can understand this. If this organization is not present, we cannot understand this. So in this way, cell theory is very important. Even though organisms are different, compulsorily they should have some basic structure that is called as cell. Then only they can perform all these functions. This is what they are saying, and up to this sentence it is related to cell chapter. So with this part is also completed. And finally we are talking about the Louis Pasteur. This is very important, and here regarding this scientist, it was not mentioned in this chapter, but it was mentioned in the evolution chapter in the class 12th. In class 12th biology, evolution chapter is there. There we will study about the Louis Pasteur, and he proposed biogenesis theory. So in the evolution, so different theories are there. Some scientists are saying that so it was God has created all these things all of a sudden. Likewise, some theories are there, and there are some theories that are saying that there are some living things are there. So they are distributed in the entire universe. So that they are living organisms are coming from them. Likewise, they have proposed. So all these things we will study. Likewise, there is a theory called as abiogenesis theory. Abiogenesis means what? From the non-living things, living organisms are coming out. From the mud, crocodiles will come out. From the straw, so mouse are coming out. So in this way, different theories are there. That is the abiogenesis theory. But what is biogenesis theory? From the living organisms only, living organisms are coming out. This is called as a biogenesis theory. Suppose some insects are coming out, there should be some larval eggs should be there here. Insect eggs should be there. So they may be forming the larval forms, and finally they may be developing into some adult, something like this. Some living thing should be there. So from that only some living organism can develop. So this is called as biogenesis theory. So in this way he proved this, experimentally he proved this, and those things we will study in the evolution chapter. And why I am saying this particular one? Because that cells Cells are arising from pre-existing cells only. Same logic here also. Living organisms are coming from living things only. Please understand this. So in this way, biogenesis theory is also somehow related with this. So and this we will study under the evolution chapter. Clear? So this is what about this particular one, and with this, this particular lecture is completed. So in the next lecture, we will study about some other things related to the cell. Okay. Thank you so much, my dear friends. We will meet in the next lecture. Thank you.